on Anime here, and welcome to my annual Autism Awareness Month announcement video. And if you're probably watching said video, you'll notice that there's a lot going on here. For one, I've got this totally awesome Red Instead t-shirt, as well as this adorable little puzzle piece button that I wear every year to support autism awareness. And with pointing out these details, you're probably wondering, well, gee, that's a lot of contradicting symbols there, Hanime. Care to explain what's going on here? Gladly. Let's start things off as I normally do with Autism Awareness Month and open up about my own experiences in dealing with autism.
Autism, by medical terms, is a neurological condition that affects a person's social abilities to varying degrees and is often exhibited by lack of communication skills, repetitive and obsessive routines and behaviors, and narrow-minded interests. Since the earliest days of Hanime on Anime, the blog anyways, I have been very open about my own experience and diagnosis with Asperger's syndrome, an autism spectrum disorder that's often considered to be the highest functioning form of autism, and have also gone on to mention it on numerous occasions in my videos. So, yeah, it goes without saying I know what I'm talking about when it comes to experiencing autism firsthand, and I'm obviously very open about it.
But it's not just me trying to be more personal and open about my own experiences with this disorder.
One of the reasons why I talk about it so openly and honestly is because it's my way of showing you, my audience, that I'm more than just a diagnosis, despite the fact that I deal with it every single day. That's also why I feel like celebrating Autism Awareness Month is so important. It's a time to show that people who have autism are more than just a disorder. And fortunately, there are other people who feel the same way.
Which leads me to bring up an alternate movement that I've kind of joined, but not entirely.
Last year's event, I mentioned an alternative movement to autism awareness called Autism Acceptance. And it's just as it sounds. It's a movement that not only helps educate people on what autism is, but accepts it and the people who have it or deal with it as the people that they are. At the time of last year's announcement, I stated that I was on the fence when it came to supporting this movement or just continue with autism awareness.
Well, consider all the red I'm wearing a sign that I've climbed that fence.
Yeah, there are a lot of things about the autism awareness movement, especially when it's backed by Autism Speaks, that I don't agree with or support anymore, despite the fact that I still call this month Autism Awareness Month, but more on that later.
My chief reason isn't because Autism Speaks has pretty much monopolized the occasion, though it's kind of a reason. But rather, it's what the occasion promotes, especially when Autism Speaks is backing it up.
Looking at the autism awareness movement, for me, it seems to promote the need to educate people on what autism is and how it affects people. Nowadays, though, I feel like with the increase of diagnoses over the past few years, it's almost unnecessary to do this anymore. It's nothing new and people can easily figure out what it is just by uttering the word. You can pretty much define it by this point. Heck, I was able to do it just a second ago. On top of that, you rarely see anyone autistic being represented in this movement, especially when Autism Speaks is involved.
But it's not like anyone who's autistic would back them up either.
Ask any autistic person and they'll tell you that they hate Autism Speaks. Seriously, I have yet to meet one autistic person who supports them. And the reasons for why vary. Some say that they're more interested in finding a cure than actually helping those affected by it. Some say that they help the people indirectly affected by it rather than those who actually have a diagnosis. And some say it's because they're a money-hungry organization, even going as far as monitoring the S's in their name to dollar signs. And on top of that, the organization has come out with a handful of awful documentaries and campaigns where they essentially demonize and dehumanize people with autism. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't one of those autistic individuals who felt the same way for the same reasons.
But for me, well, it's a combination of all of these. My biggest problem with Autism Speaks is their view on the autistic individual.
On top of some of the negative campaigns that they've come out with over the years, there was a point in time where Autism Speaks website had pictures of people who were visibly autistic. Seriously, you could easily pick them out. And as a result, this creates an ugly stereotype that, I'll be honest, continues to affect the general public's view on the disorder. And while Autism Speaks has tried, and I honestly do think they have tried their hardest to really fix the damage that's done, it's already too late. So essentially, the way Autism Speaks promotes awareness of autism involves pushing an outdated message and an outdated image that is a poor portrayal of the autistic individual.
And these aren't just outdated views, they're insulting views.
Despite what Autism Speaks may want you to believe, the average autistic person may very well look like this, but they may also look like this, or this, or this, or this, or heck, even this.
Oh, and for context purposes, those were pictures of Carly Fleischman, who's a renowned talk show host, James Durbin, who was a season 10 contestant on American Idol, Alexis Weinman, who was Miss Montana for Miss America 2012, and of course, Temple Grandin. And I might have included myself in there. Sorry.
The point here is that autism, though clearly defined, is not limited to just a look, and that look doesn't define a person's capabilities. This is the message I feel that the autism awareness movement misses. So yeah, since last year's event, I've pretty much gone autism acceptance.
But still, even though I've pretty much embraced the movement, I have found a few things wrong with the acceptance movement that have kept me from embracing it entirely.
The autism acceptance movement is in fact a lot fairer in that it recognizes autism is not limited to a look and that the people who are diagnosed need support. But I have several problems with it that have made it hard for me to promote it fully. The first of these is that nobody seems to know why we need to accept autism rather than be aware of it. In all of the research that I've done on this movement, I never really found anyone who clearly stated why people need to call it acceptance. And to me, it almost sounded like people who support the movement go with it because autism is more prevalent and we just have to deal with it. And to me, it's a very lacking reason for backing it up. It's the same as if an LGBTQ plus activist came up to you and told you to support gay people because they're here and aren't going away anytime soon. It doesn't clearly explain why these people need to be accepted in society, and to me, it's a very poor answer for jumping onto any kind of movement.
So here's my reason for backing up the acceptance movement, and I hope that other people who support it feel the same way. We are all human beings, and regardless of who we are, where we come from, what we believe in, and what we deal with on a day-to-day basis, we deserve to be treated with respect and dignity.
Whether you're black or white, Christian or otherwise, straight or gay, you're still a person and deserve to be treated as such. Because of this, at our core, we're not that much different. I try my hardest to live this way every single day, even when I don't agree with people who have different views than I do. And this is the exact same message that I try to spread whenever I try to promote autism acceptance, or rather awareness. People with autism, whether high functioning, low functioning, or have an ASD like Asperger's syndrome, are human beings who contribute to society in one way or the other and deserve to be treated with the dignity and respect that anyone who is not autistic is fitted to. And at the end of the day, I want to be treated the exact same way.
Besides nobody being really clear on what the motivation for the acceptance movement is, I also take issue with the symbol that they use to represent the movement.
One thing I mentioned in last year's announcement concerning both movements involved the iconic puzzle piece often associated with autism in general. The acceptance movement throws out this symbol in favor of a rainbow-colored infinity symbol. And while I admire the attempt to show unity and acceptance, I don't think it's a good symbol. For one, the rainbow colors are often associated with the LGBTQ plus community, and therefore it can be a bit confusing. And secondly, I never understood the infinity symbol.
I mean, is it meant to show unity, or that there are infinite ways of seeing? This doesn't make sense, people!
In all honesty, looking at this symbol, it's like the movement is trying so hard to not be like Autism Speaks that they tried anything they could to make it stand out. And as a result, for me anyways, the symbol comes off as confusing and completely misses the mark in promoting a message that's meant to represent people with autism.
Personally, I really do think that the puzzle piece is the most fitting symbol for autism.
Now, I know that many people see it as a negative symbol and will often associate it with Autism Speaks, but I look at it in a different way. I've mentioned this view already in last year's event, but when I look at the puzzle piece, I don't see another piece of the puzzle to be solved about autism, kind of like what Autism Speaks wants you to think. I see an autistic person who, in some way, fits into our society. In fact, autistic or not, we all fit into society in one way or another. We are all puzzle pieces. On top of that, I also love how in the early days of autism awareness, each puzzle piece was a different color. Once again, this is a perfect representation of how we are all different and yet somehow fit into the overall puzzle that is our world. We are no more or no less important than the piece that is right next to us, despite what color or what shape we are. We just fit somehow. So while I understand the effort in making a more positive symbol to represent the autistic individual, I really do think that the puzzle piece is the best symbol here, despite what other people may think about it.
In wrapping up my thoughts and experiences with autism, I still think we need to be made aware, but not of what autism is.
We need to be aware that those individuals with autism are people who are very much important parts of our world today, even though we say and do things a little different, just like any other person. And in the end, that's what we want to be seen and treated as, just like any other person. And that's why I still call Autism Awareness Month Awareness Month. Because we need to be aware of the acceptance that autistic people need so much.
Now enough about that and on to this year's event. It's kind of been hard to come up with ideas on what to do for this event, especially this year, and to the point where I was running on fumes. I mean, I've gone the open and personal route and talking about my own experience being autistic, and then I've just openly discussed my thoughts and views on matters that concern the disorder. But then I came up with an idea this year that was 100% different than what I had normally been doing for the event. I decided to do what I'm known for on Hanime on Anime, reviews. But not just any reviews. This year, rather than doing my usual anime reviews, I decided to do reviews on shows that feature autistic characters.
That's right. I'll be looking at shows that directly focus on autism and critique them. And while I'll be reviewing them like I do with my regular anime reviews, I'll be particularly looking into how the shows portray autism in their characters. Because hey, being an Aspie myself, I feel entitled to judge whether or not they're good portrayals. I should also note that I won't be ranking these shows like I do with my regular reviews, and will be a little more relaxed in looking at certain elements like plot and character development. So, for the month of April, look forward to some traditional reviews on some pretty non-traditional shows in an attempt to spread some awareness and acceptance.
In closing, whether you call it autism awareness or autism acceptance, let's all keep in mind that people with autism are human beings, but just a little different, and that we all fit into the jigsaw puzzle that is life. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned April 14th when I do my special review on the hit ABC medical drama, The Good Doctor. Till then, bye!